Then enunciation starts.
So it's like a radio. It's perfect.
There is armor over there.
There's armor over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have cameras. You want to grab? Hello, everybody. Minute edge. It's one or two more things. And yeah, we'll get on with the show. Yeah, we're gonna have the important garlic. The beautiful mushroom hat.
Yep.
Oh, that's something.
Well, he does. So if I can kind of talk about like one of the funnest aspects of what we do. So we do live action roleplay, medieval fantasy wacky guys, really where we, one of the funnest aspects of it is we get to dress up and wear cool garb. A lot of us, we make our own gear. Malachi here is dressed head to toe in mostly gear that's been made from our park, from different members, including the pants that he made himself.
Wow.
We really like to promote people to make
Wear
their
pants.
own gear and learn. Yeah, we also promote wearing pants. It's very important, especially in the winter. It gets cold, and we don't stop.
We really like it when Malachi wears pants.
It's a little awkward when he doesn't, but we all are. Don't worry, not just you. But yeah, so this is very Village Valley. We have our heraldry of our cool park here. We'd like to use the opportunity to kind of explain a little bit more about our game. As you can see, we have all this really cool gear sitting out front. It might be cool. I don't know. Do you guys think it's cool? Yeah, there's some shields,
Kind of
some
neat.
swords. They might not look all like swords, but they're back. These are what we use to fight. These are like the general size that we work with. That's what you'll see everybody with. Malachi's got one over there. It's hanging out in the self-made sheath. Those will carry many different varieties. From the generic short sword to a down spear that it's got that little bit more range to it to poke your enemies from afar. So it's back over here. We're gonna do a quick little demo of how we fight. Would you guys like to see that?
Yeah, go for it.
Sweet. So, Jay, I'm gonna have you to come up here and explain fighting.
Okay.
So, one of the fun aspects of our game is you're switching hats. Very important. From the mushroom hat to the combat hat. I'll take off here. Good. So.
No time. Essentially the way that goes. The fighting works within the game of Vanguard is you hit people. This is phenomenal, it's great. A valid shot in Vanguard, considered every combat sport, every game, especially ones that use weapons, have ways that they decide whether or not something is valid or not. Vanguard has essentially one thing. It made a noise. Further than that, within the rules of actual play, I can strike to anywhere on the body except for the head. One of the things that is a shortfall is that we have skulls and brains inside them. These do not like to get hit repeatedly. I would know I'm a kickboxer.
Not a good time.
Yeah, that's why I say more than usual. Further than that, what we have essentially explained in the fighting system, I can, in an arm, George here cannot use that arm anymore. If I hit the other arm, this should fairly well explain how the fight is done. The fight is done for two reasons. One, George can no longer swing a sword at me. Two is we have a rule that's described as 2 limbs to a kill. If I hit George in any 2 limbs, arm, leg, leg, and arm, whichever that might be, or in the body, George is dead. That goes back to whatever respawn mechanic the game we're currently playing has. Essentially, the focus of Vanguard as a whole is what we call battle gaming. Battle gaming essentially amounts to similar types of games like you might think of in Call of Duty, that sort of thing. So you have things like capture the flag, holding objectives, holding no points, retrieving things, trying to plant stuff in places, or simply as in the good old favorite team deathmatch or free for all, or what we call mutual annihilation, is that everyone fights until someone lives. So whatever respawn mechanic there will be takes place within the game as designed by your game master will then take place if a player dies. There are ways to get around a player dying. We have a magic system as well, which includes things like heal and resurrect. But essentially that's the just for of Amp-Guard fighting. We hit each other with things, whatever those things are. We can block hits with other things. Nouns are cool for that. You can throw things at people. They do roughly the same thing as hitting them. For instance, he has a javelin, one of my craft. Actually, no, this one is Malachi's craft. It's the same thing. Same kind of idea. If I throw this and it hits George's arm, George cannot use that arm. If I hit it in the body, if I hit George in the body, George can no longer use that body. That's the whole thing. Yeah, there's essentially our shtick for full fighting. Yeah, the shtick. Yeah, the shtick. This is my stick. Mark made this stick. I have several other sticks. They're sitting in a bag over there.
We have plenty of sticks.
Yeah, this is my anti-stick.
Yeah, anti-stick, it blocks all the sticks. It's great.
And that's my big stick.
It's the big poke.
This is the end.
Yes. Yeah.
AKA hammer time.
Do you walk tall?
Yeah. I also talk softly and carry it. I also talk softly and carry a big stick.
True.
I see one goblin.
Not you.
Yeah.
Actually, did you show off the throwing axes?
Yes.
So, one of the cooler things that we have.
Yeah.
There's throwing sticks. What can you say?
Just about. Thankfully, I have a habit of catching things more than I have of not catching things. We also have within the system of Amp-Guard fighting, as it exists aside from our rules of magic, we have thrown weapons. So we talked about our javelins over here. We also have light, medium, and heavy thrown weapons, as well as rocks. Rocks don't show up so much. These are basically just size categories for things you can throw at other people. Here we have some heavy thrown, as we described. I believe the category for heavy thrown is between 10 and 15 inches, roughly. I throw this at George, it shorts of the leg. It affects the same type of wound as if I hit him with my sword. It just means that I can affect that wound from far away. Further, a thing, Yep. Further, a thing that, and we could feel free to pass stuff around. We of course just it killed us for the purposes of Amp-Guard and George's spouse. The thrown weapons in this case are simply foam. We have our melee weapons, the things that we hit other people with directly. They will have cores in them. So this one, for instance, has a graphite core, which makes it very light. Also gives a stiffness to the weapon. Those are just foam. That is it. That is all they are. Those are made of foam and hockey tape exclusively.
Key point of keeping things safe.
Yeah, keeping things at least moderately safe. Not the scout mark, not the scout.
Yeah, get him.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
Hands up.
Incidentally, a thing that we can,
Do you guys have restrictions on what types of foam you use?
So essentially, we don't have specific restrictions. So it's not like we could say you only use 4-pound XLPE or whatever. It's just a matter of, for instance, for striking surfaces on weapons, that has to be closed cell foam. So closed cell describes something like, for instance, a pool noodle, which is a very common kind of basic weapon material. There are noodle swords around. We describe noodle swords. Pool noodles. Suck. You can actually see very well on this one. Here's a very kind of basic model sword. Sword loosely turned.
Very good example of a very much a beginner sword.
So we use pool noodle because it's easily accessible for a lot of kind of beginner entry level weapons. As the kind of the sport of Amp-Guard and boffer fighting in general, there are 3 main boffer games. Have evolved. People have started producing foam specifically for making boffer weapons, which is silly, but also very convenient because noodles are ever harder and harder to find.
Right.
Yeah.
You can see this one's actually got some wear and tear.
That was.
Yeah. Don't worry, that's why we handle other swords.
Yeah.
They're cheap and easy to make.
Yeah, so when we're describing like something like a closed cell foam, that'll be things like pool noodle, pipe insulation that are fairly common to find. Essentially, it's foam that doesn't lose its air when you squish it. So of course, the opposite of that would be open cell foam. That's something like if you think of couch cushion, like something you see on circle surface. It's foam that loses its air and just compresses when you hit it. It's softer, but that means that it doesn't absorb force as well. These are going to be a little bit stiffer, so they'll hit a little bit harder, but they will absorb that force better and make things in general more safer. Getting hit with open cell is more comfortable. These are typically safer. Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if you all remember. I remember back in the day when I used to have like a sleeping mat for like going on camping and whatnot. There was that thin
Like
material.
like camp pad, like you find at Canada Tire, again, like Surface Surveys, that sort of thing.
Not great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, not phenomenal. But it is, for instance, what a lot of the tips of our swords are made of, because it's an easily accessible source of closed cell foam that is not in tubes. Yeah, so it's essentially the construction of our weapons for just about all of our melee weapons is that they are made with closed cell foam. You will find some on occasion, for instance, sometimes someone's making a really big stick, or something that we might be adding to our javelins. Might be sometimes people add like an open cell buffer if something is decidedly hitting too hard forward. Yeah, that one does not, but if someone is making a very big weapon, they might add an open cell kind of buffer to it to make it a little bit more comfortable getting with.
That's probably on that sword. Majority of my swords, I tend to add a little layer. It just helps it to be a little bit nicer.
This one, no.
It could be the other one.
It could be the other one. Could be the other one that's been sitting.
Out really quick.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So that's essentially like the construction of our weapons. Is like our melee weapons will have a core of some kind. We'll have closed cell foam over that core, surrounding, however that may be. Not all swords are round. I have a flat blade. It's over there.
There's one over here.
Yeah. There's a fancy one. Mine is far less fancy than that. Incidentally, mine cost me about an hour to build. That one cost far more than an hour to build.
I think it took me about a week or a month, give or take.
Yeah.
Also, because it had a lot of learning process in it.
Yeah.
I can send that around if you guys want to see it.
Yeah, I'd like to check that out. That is one that sees far less fighting, because it is something that could absolutely use an open cell buffer. It hits hard.
This is a little dense. It actually doesn't see play anymore. But it is much more dense.
It's jumpy.
The plasticky edge of it, or the rubber edge, is actually a non-strike legal edge. So we can only hit on the fabric edge.
Yeah, that's just where I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I was just going with our weapon construction, is that our weapons also mandatorily have a cloth cover of some kind. You can see that on all of our stuff, which is one of the reasons that offers look silly. Yeah.
I wish that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
But now that I've been learning how to do that ever better, I can now teach it as well. So
Incidentally, flat blades are not significantly harder to make than omni blades. I found that when I made the first flat blade, Malachi was there, it took again like maybe an hour.
Wait, dumb question, personal question.
Okay.
Flat blade, no.
Omni blade just refers to a round sword.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All these.
Yep. Or a bat. You'll hear these referred to as bats sometime.
Yeah.
Not typically so much in Amguard, but in other buffer sports, you'll quite often hear these referred to as bats, or blades will be referred to, or flat blades will be referred to as blades. I think that's where Malachi's going, so Malachi will probably return here shortly with. He gave you the sign. Malachi will return here shortly with my flat blade, which is a far simpler one. My flat blade, incidentally, is something that if you wanted to make your first sword, you could make.
that's it.
There we
Even
go.
if it is an illegal weapon, or even a usable weapon these days, it is a lot of fun to use when I did have the opportunity.
It is legal.
Yeah.
It is not fun.
Or their shield.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, right? Yeah.
All sorts.
Speaking of shields,
Yeah.
you want to show off?
Sure. That's where I was going. So, handles. We also have things to prevent you from getting hit. These things are great. A thing here, while we're looking at all of our weapons, it's a good time to kind of mention the system of play that kind of governs Amguard. So, I imagine, based on the populace here, that the better portion of us have played Dungeons and Dragons. Is there anyone here who is completely unfamiliar with the concept? Good. Amguard essentially takes the form of D&D played out in real time. There is no initiative. Thank God, initiative is an awful system.
It'd be pretty awkward if we're doing it for real. Like.
Yeah. I show up and I go to attack George, but then George gets to move first because he's luckier than me. No, I don't get to roll. I curse dice. I'm not allowed to actually roll for myself at any of my campaigns. Other people roll for me.
We have 30 people and you hit and you sit down.
No, the one place I'm allowed to roll, I have dice in a box. So I just get to shake the thing and look inside the box because then I don't touch the dice, I don't paint them. But D&D essentially worked out. All my dice are painted. I have like 5 or 6 sets of dice that roll under 10 9% of the time. Blades in the Dark. Blades in the Dark also seems to be very well. Amp takes the form of essentially D&D played out in real time, as you're saying, and as such has the same kind of system for managing what can do what. We have a system of what we would describe as classes. These are exactly the same ideas as what is played out in D&D. F in here, Jared, typically plays a class called Monk. Monk is again exactly the same kind of feel as what you get in D&D. They aren't going to be the same type of same abilities necessarily, though actually Monk, as far as Amgard is concerned, does have both missile block and enlightened soul, which are D&D abilities. Because the guys who wrote Amgard simply weren't that creative. Other classes include things like Archer. We have a bow here. We have warriors, healers, we have paladins and anti-paladins, which just got opened up. It's phenomenal. Leading off of that, there is a system of awards called Paragon. So Paragon basically means that you embody your class. You are what you play. If you are a healer, you walk out and everyone goes, yes, Mark over there, yeah, that's a healer. Near Paragon over here. So our classes also adjust to what we can use. If I am playing, for instance, Barbarian, Warrior, something like that, I'm likely to get a shield. Shields are cool, shields help me not get hit. Shields are less cool if you aren't someone that gets to use a shield, which is great. Which is great for those who have shields, to be less cool for those who don't. We also have weapons, for instance, like, again, my base fit. Well, I can throw a shield at George. You do get to use a sword if you would like as well. We have a system for dealing with shields. This is a weapon that has what we call scab padding, that is shield crushing, armor breaking. There is armor as well. I could throw this at George. This is my jacket though, so it will not fit him. This is what I describe as a gambeson. A gambeson is simply layers of cloth built up to the armor. I am small, there was no one else here that would fit my coat.
Let's pretend that
let's pretend that George is wearing my gambeson, for instance. We can start with this SC part of that scab term. George has a shield. I have a pole arm. That SC is shield crushing. I can hit the shield. Crushing, crushing, crushing. That shield is destroyed for the purpose of game mechanics. That shield can be fixed by other abilities, or it can be left back at a base, what used to be referred to as Nirvana, to be repaired naturally. George is also wearing all this incredible armor.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, you see, it's natural. He made it himself. He produced it.
himself.
Yeah. He grew it himself, a bit like my hair. Say he has 3 points of armor. If he has 3 points of armor, that's where the AB of that turn comes from. Armor breaking. I can hit George in the arm. That arm usually would simply be gone. He had armor, so it is not. If he has 3 points or less, that armor is completely destroyed. 3 points or more than 3 points, that will take a point down to 3 points, in which case it will remove that armor for the last 3, and that arm is now free for me to go ham. Nerd. Further to our combat system, something that I forgot to mention, or mentioned in passing rather, forgot to delve a little bit deeper into. We have our limb system again. So I hit George in the arm. George can't use that arm. If I hit George in the leg, George also doesn't use that leg. Sweat, the leg will heal you so you can be alive. There, for instance, is a spell. If you get hit in the legs, you kind of have 2 options. One, you can post, which means my feet are planted, I do not get to move. Our other options are you drop to your knees.
These guys are definitely recommended.
Yeah, knee pads are recommended, almost required, but certainly recommended. I don't wear them because I'm an idiot.
Well, choosing his own fate.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
30s are gonna be hard.
Oh, I was already there. Further, the point of classes, which I just noticed basket here. We have ways to denote that. These are simply sashes. They're just a thing you wear around your body. If I wear this sash, I no longer get this stick. I can get this stick though. This is a sash for the class assassin. All the sashes are simply color-coded to correspond with whatever that class does. There are character sheets and builds and what you get to use. We have our martial classes, which are essentially the things that primarily do fighting. Yeah.
Different classes use different kinds of weapons, probably, right?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's why you switch that and put that on.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Astute. Yeah.
It's just a
So, George is now wearing a white sash. He can't use this.
Now he is allowed.
Yeah.
The system is great because then when you're fighting on the battlefield, you know what they're going to do to some degree.
Yeah.
You see, oh, Chunky the Barbarian. Well, I know you do.
I mean, I knew that, but he's also playing the class. Confirmed, by the way.
The use of class abilities, when you come down to part, it allows people with different ways they want to play. So if you're saying, if I want to be more lenient back, I'll take a spellcasting class, so I can just be in the background. I can use my voice all I would like, compared to a monk or an assassin. They gotta go out loud, they gotta move around quick fast. They don't really have a lot to protect themselves, they don't have a shield, they don't have armor. Assassin might have a little bit of armor, but not a lot to really dive deep in. It's all these concepts are based on how you want to play the game. So it's something for everybody.
As an example, Jen's.
Mark, my power shows you.
He got.
For instance, we have two types of magic in our game. Well, we have three types. Two are useful at a player level. One of them is useful pretty much exclusively at the class level. We have, to dive into the first one right away, we have what are called meta magic. Meta magics affect other things. Meta just, of course, meaning like out of game. It's just a thing that affects the spell that you're actively doing. For instance, George is on my team. He's not. I apparently don't like him all that much. We have a spell for healing. Incidentally, red sash, healer. These two are far better healers than I am. But I have two options. Sword, cut, spear, stab, base smash, arrow, jab. The white lady of healing just said a potty, but the white lady of healing stop, they spelling blood. The white lady of healing mend my bones, like the white lady of healing close thy wounds, like the white lady of healing restore thy vigor. The white lady of healing hath healed thee. There, that arm's coming back.
Take a breath,
Or,
David.
yeah. Or, my preferred option, again because I'm an idiot, Swift. Swift means that I get to say either the last line of an incant to complete it, or if it's a repeated incant, which are typically just going to be one line you have to say a number of times, I get to shorten my incant, to shorten my speed. I don't like talking all that much. Swift, the white light of healing hath healed thee.
It's great when your team members keep dying or getting injured.
Yeah, that's these two problems. Our other types of magic, as we just went over, are things like our verbal magic. So our verbal magic are spells that we can tell at other people. I say tell because they basically don't get a choice unless there's a reason they do. So, like, I shoved Mark. Mark, my power shows you, my power shows you, my power shows you. Mark goes 20 feet straight back or through the table.
Yeah, through the table, down.
I'm not shoving George for what I hope are fairly obvious reasons. Third and final, we have spell balls. Yeah, I know. Yeah, this isn't good. Yeah. I didn't say I was throwing this down.
It could be anybody.
Yeah. It doesn't mark so. We have spell balls. Spell balls are essentially the classic as far as our fantasy magic goes. We all know our fireball, firebolt, all those sorts of things. Oh, I was gonna peg Malachi with it. That was my plan.
Now that everybody's wearing one.
Yeah.
Actually, would you guys like to see one?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sashes come in
This
many
cloth.
different shapes, forms, sizes. Most of them amount to a strip of cloth. Other people make things like, for instance, macrame is fairly popular, oddly enough. We have spell balls. This one, they're again color-coded. We love color-coding things.
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, yeah.
So this is just like for the specific class, right?
Yes, absolutely. For instance, black there, that's an assassin sash.
Okay.
Red, healer, white, barbarian. other things are other things. I can't be bothered.
Short range blades.
Barbarians can use all melee weapons.
No, assassin.
Assassins have a few more restrictions.
So,
Yeah, but
Do they throw stuff too?
assassins do get thrown weapons, but they get light thrown, so are small. There is one light thrown weapon in my bag over there, but it's not worth fishing out. We have spell balls. Spell balls are again just kind of a, there's a word for it. They are a stand-in for something that we can't actually create in real life. They also allow us for the game mechanic of, again, like if we're talking about being okay?
It would be like the spell.
It's a phys-rep. It's a physical representation. That's the word I was looking for. Spell components would be a little bit different, so that would make use of D10. So they allow us for something a bit like rolling our D20. If I can't throw, my bonus is minimal. If I can throw, my bonus is up, and that's going to be a thing for our casters. All of our spell balls have an incant to charge them. For instance, our ice ball is the strength of ice is mind to evoke times 3. Strength of ice is mind to evoke, strength of ice is mind to evoke, strength of ice is mind to evoke. I toss it, and I was intending to hit Malachi, but that didn't work. Mark here is frozen for 60 seconds because ice balls are awful. Yeah, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, so we'll get back to Mark. Because I don't know the releasing can. Yeah.
Sweet freedom.
Don't worry, I got no one.
Wow.
That's actually a class-specific question, which is a good one. So again, all of our classes have different things they're really good at, and things that they're bad at. Some classes are worse at more things than they're better at, including the class you just mentioned. So we have a class called Monk. That's Jared's preferred class, Heffen. We all have funny names. And what I used to play predominantly. Monk has an ability called Spellball Block, which means that with their weapons or with their palms, so just open hands, they can block spell balls. So if Mark had been, if Mark had been playing a monk there, he would have been fine. He was not. He's a peasant because he is not wearing a sash. Yeah, so there are ways to get around all these things. For instance, you've probably heard some of us talking smack about George playing Barbarian. Within our magic system, we also have classifications for magic. All of this is horrendously complicated. Basically, it amounts to some classes are immune to certain types of magic. Spell ball is a type of magic called subdual. Yeah. Yeah, I wish you could switch spell balls. Yeah. Barbarians are immune to that class of magic. There are other ways to get around that. George, my power makes thee frozen, my power makes thee frozen, my power makes thee frozen. Different school of magic, so it works. Essentially, it's just that some classes are immune to some things, other classes are immune to other things, some classes are immune to sod all. And that is their fault. Yes.
Different schools of magic. You might see fire, protection, enchantments, sorcery, subdual, and command. Each one of these, it's a very complicated system. It's very fun. But the note that you have to know about is that the wording of the incant will display what school it might be. If I say terror is a death school of magic. So I say barbarian or George. Death makes you terrified, death makes you terrified, death makes you terrified. Because I use the word death in my incant, that is a death school magic.
Incidentally, that is one of these rules and one of these lovely intentions of a rule, where it's supposed to be that way for all of the incants, it is not.
It would be simple as well.
Except for command, I think. Command's the only one I think that it is consistent. Yeah.
It allows for a ton of different strategy in games.
Yeah.
You know, you have to remember when we're using new classes, we're playing things like capture the flag or hold the objective or king of the hill. So, we mesh it into all that. It's an amazingly fun time.
The class system, as in D&D, offers basic potential for teamwork. Again, these two over here are predominantly healers, which means they are basically useless on their own. They need people like George. They need people like George to, again, be like me and be idiots, run out and get hit. There is far more of a problem for George than that was. Yeah, so that's essentially the basis of our combat. We have arrows as well. I believe Malachi volunteered to get shots, and I think Captain is very eager to see Malachi. Yeah.
You have attack points in this, right? So there's certain things that you gotta choose if you want to do.
So that's actually a good point, and something that I didn't get into because it's complicated things. But it is a thing that is worth answering this question. We have essentially two types of classes. We have martial classes, which basically this only means anything for leveling. We have martial classes, which basically just add things to their character sheet every time they level up. You just get levels through attending art days. And for doing other things. So like if, for instance, we have a day where we get together and make pants with Malachi's. Malachi got credits for making pants.
It was like Arts and Science Day.
Yeah. Or if you travel to another park, you travel to an event, you will get extra credits for those. But the martial classes, so are things like our assassin, our barbarian, our warrior, class called scout. Scout should be named ranger, but it's called scout. All those things just add things to their ability list as they gain levels. We also have our casters. Our casters are far more complicated. It's awful. They have a point buy system, so you per level you get 5 points to add any of the things from those levels to your build. So we have a spell list. There's an app for that, incidentally. If anyone's curious, it's awesome. It means that I don't have to do math, and I'm bad at math. I teach English because I'm bad at math. So you go through and you can say, I want, if I'm not a healer, healers get unlimited heals, go figure. But I predominantly play Druid, which is not this sash. There's not one of these sashes on hand. It's a brown sash. I can buy a bunch of heals. I could say, if I'm going to look at my level 2 spells, I want to buy 5 heals, and that's what I'll get for that level. Or I want to buy 2 heals, 3 releases, whatever combination that may be. So going up and down in that's basically skill tree system. That point buy gives me different builds and different things I can do with my caster. Casters are by and large more versatile than our martial classes, but martial classes typically have more general damage output, general DPS, which again is another term I'm pretty sure most of us here will be familiar with.
Also, to kind of tie that, if anybody here has played like a wizard in Dungeons and Dragons, I kind of like to tag on the casting system in our game is equivalent almost to a wizard in D&D, where every day or every time you do something, you get to pick a new set of spells out from the list that you have knowledge of. Right. Yeah. Then you have only so many you can pick per day.
Yeah.
Same idea, same concept.
Spells also have frequency as, again, a la D&D, a la Dungeons and Dragons. So you can have a spell per life, which means that every time I live, which happens fairly regularly, and usually multiple times in battle game, I get these spells back. So if I have, say, 3 heals per life, I go out on the field, I have a really god-awful team, but they're still killing the enemy, they're just getting good at doing it. And I heal 3 people. I don't have any more heals to that life. I die, I can respawn, come back, and I get my heals back. We also have things that are per refresh. So these are essentially equivalent to a short and long rest in D&D. We have our short rest, which essentially are per life spells, or per life abilities, because there are things that are not spells that fall in there. Or we have things that are per refresh. The per refresh things are typically things that are more powerful. I have to be more kind of astute as to when I'm going to use them. For instance, again, as a druid, a lot of my enchantments, my buffs for my team are per refresh. So if I decide that I'm going to give Mark an enchantment, the god-awful fighter Mark is, I better be sure that I'm using it right where I want. Mark is a far better foam fighter than me. I'm a better scrapper than he is because I've been teaching martial arts for the past 15 years. But yeah, so that's essentially kind of like the rundown there for how our system works. And Captain has been waiting very patiently to come Malachi. And of course, everyone will get a chance to come up and check out these things when we're done talking about them. So yeah.
There's something else I need to say about the armor that you see here for you. There's different armor points that we have.
There's different point values for the types of armor you're going to wear. Again,
yeah, like the old breastplate is going to have 6 points of armor. That's the max you can have. Which is gamma sim, which has a minimal number, which is 1 or 2. And that's also that ties in with your class. So as a monk, that I'm not allowed to wear any armor because I make up for it and not being affected at all by purple magics. someone like an assassin will be able to have 3 points of armor, and a warrior, big warrior, has the biggest shield you can get and the most armor you can get. So those are the armor points that you can go through.
Yeah. So essentially that means that you can get a maximum of 6 extra hits per whatever you're doing.
It's pretty sweet. When you see a warrior step onto the field with full plate armor, it's pretty, sketchy thing to go and fight by yourself. If they can equivalently take 5 more shots than normal. It's kind of shifting on the arrows. I'll pass one around for everybody, but they're pretty cool. Once again, safety is our biggest thing in this game. So when you feel the arrow, you can feel how like squishy and soft it is. But it is still dense enough that it's not going to like squish you sometimes. It's kind of like when we're talking about the open cell phone. These days we actually make them with a 3D blunt. So we have a blunt from here to here, and then it extends its phone.
So what you're referring to here is a 3D printed cap for this arrow. Which means that people don't get stabbed should foam wear it.
Nobody wants that. Getting stabbed by an actual arrow is not a good time.
No bueno, no mas.
Here, I'll pass this around. And then I'm also going to get Malachi. Step back a bit more. We want to make sure that where we're firing it, it's not going to actually hit anybody over here or any of the equipment here. So if you want to maybe come over here, it might be a little bit harder to see, but a little bit safer.
So our rules for our bows is that you're not allowed to have anything more than a 35-pound bow, because after that you start getting the pressure that hits you, it starts getting pretty painful. When you have someone who's within 20 feet of you, you are not allowed to draw more than half of your bow length, of your arrow length, because we want you to save. So I'm going to stand back here because Malachi is our righteous hardcore man, and I will go full on. Are you ready? 3, 2. So I hit him in the right arm. His right arm is gone. It's the same mechanics.
Incidentally,
Do it again, but I want to see a better shot.
incidentally, that's his nurse. That's why he was
better
favorite
shot.
boxer too.
Alright.
Yeah, do better.
I'll do better. Do better. Listen here, physics. Do better for me. Oh!
We didn't agree on
It was in the fine print.
that.
You'll see the rule book. It's a huge rule book. It's Malachi is allowed to get hit down there. It said right there.
Did you sign that for him?
Yeah, I did. I forged your signature pretty well.
Forgery is a thing.
You still might be good.
There, have it.
Yeah. Forgery is not a game mechanic endorsed by Amcard International.
What? We forge our swords, we forge our shields. Can I forge other things like people's signatures?
Forged signatures are not strictly.
Yeah, that's counterfeit.
Yeah, archery is a ton of fun. I picked it up not too long ago. Not necessarily, it hasn't always been my forte, but now that I've been getting into it, it's become so much fun. I ran an assassin last week at our local park, and
Some classes get bows, some don't. It's again one of those things where the class that you pick, and there is a rule book around somewhere. It's out of date, but it essentially tells you the same kind of ideas.
weirdly enough, barbarians used to be bows.
Yeah, barbarians used to get bows.
For some reason.
Yeah.
Right?
Now they get these.
And now they get javelins, which are also pretty cool, and you can also throw at people.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to throw one at Malachi.
We never talked about the different states actually.
And
Can I talk about the different
Flat.
states?
They're pretty cool. I don't know if you guys want to feel it as well. Yeah. They're pretty cool. You can use them for stabbing or fighting people.
yeah.
Only stabbing, but then you have the opportunity to throw them.
Wait, only stab, you can't throw this too.
Yeah,
You can throw.
We just noticed that that one is a little bit harder than the rest of our weapons have been.
I noticed that.
That is because
I like it.
Malachi and I, who have designed that particular style of javelin.
People really feel it.
Well, we do other things. So Malachi and I also do what's called Kimar, historical European martial arts. We fence with steel swords as well. That's another thing we do. So we are not typically fair tests as to what should and shouldn't hurt because our scale is different. Incidentally, those are still fine enough to get hit. They're not necessarily comfortable, but they're not going to bruise you, not going to break teeth, which is, interestingly enough, how the rule book is worded. Weapons cannot bruise or break teeth. Very specific.
Very. Must have happened in the
Yeah.
Also, I realized we haven't sent around shields, so.
Yeah.
I'll
We
send a
never
few
talked
around as
about
well.
states.
Share one over here. This is a shield. We have a few different variations of how we utilize shields. So we have strap. So strap screws are ones that you would strap onto your arm. They're really good because they're
Is this for that?
no, definitely no shield bashing. Sadly, that's not a thing in our game. It is very good.
Yeah, people get hurt.
Exactly.
Someone that's way too.
Sorry. It's not a shield bash. It's not a shield bash. As much fun as that would be, there are other games that do that. Like we are one of many boffer sports out there.
We are one of around three boffer sports out there.
And we're actually not too bad, but
Of around
cool
three
ones
out
here. We're probably one of the more safe ones out of it to some degree. There's like dagging here where you get to shield bash and grapple.
Oh, so you can't.
Because they know how to have fun.
Yeah, not this.
Oh, you're
Different one, yeah. It's called dagging here.
Oh, is that a different?
Oh yeah, Dagger here is, there are two games, two other games, Dagger here and Belagar. They are very similar to Amtgard, but they are kind of sans magic. So they are pretty much entirely based on the martial systems and the boffer fighting as it stands relates to particularly team tactics, which is also really cool. They are a couple of games that we unfortunately do not have much of in Canada. Amtgard is the biggest of the boffer larps. No, we just don't have it. Yeah, we just don't have the communities. There is one Belagar chapter in Canada. It is in Ontario, directly across the border from Buffalo, where there is one park, and I can't remember where it is, but it's right in South Ontario, and it probably exists there pretty much exclusively because there's another park right here.
Yeah. In perspective, the boffer sports are pretty new to Canada in general. Our local group has been active for 9 years, I'm about to go on 10. There's another group in Edmonton that's been going, I think it's going on 14 or 15 years, and then all the way in eastern Canada, in Ontario, there's a group that's been around for 20 something years.
Amtgard started in Texas, moved its way out from there, broke off a couple of different groups, reacquired a couple of different groups. I believe, Amtgard, I'm pretty sure, started in the early 70s, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
It started in 1984.
1984. Good old Orwell year.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's where we went wrong.
Yeah, so it's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
So are those games like the same age and kind of requirements as like?
Roughly, yeah. They're very
So there's
similar.
none of them that are like 19 plus or like just where you can go more rough with it?
There are 19 plus games. They're typically more based around the content than the fighting. So like there are, and that's usually outside of the realm of like boffer sports. So you have a lot of non-contact LARPs that are more age restricted because they are they're dealing with heavier content or things that are going to be tougher subjects that are tougher to deal with for a lot of people.
Right.
And stuff where people are looking for full immersion. So for instance, there is a game in Duncan on the island on Vancouver Island called Medieval Chaos. And Medieval Chaos is what we call a full dive LARP. So a full dive means it's sort of online essentially. You enter the gate. Yeah, there's a very easy way to explain full dive now. You enter the gate and you leave yourself behind. My Amtgard name, as I probably could have introduced myself somewhere along the line but neglected to, is Solomon Rom. I leave Jed McMillan at the door. Solomon Rom is who I am the moment I enter that gate. Amtgard is not a full dive. We have people that quite typically know each other's first names and are on bases with them outside of the game. Though Runebeard is known primarily within Amtgard as Mark.
Hey.
There's something I know from outside that
Yeah. Beardy also works.
Because I have a beard. Also
Rudy?
because I've been called Runebeard for a decade and a half at this point. Not just very long.
Yeah. He's a nerd.
Yeah. Many D&D adventures and all the board games.
Anything else we want to touch on with rules, games, explanations? Essentially, that's kind of the rundown of where we go with our fighting and with how the game is played. There are of course other aspects to the society as a whole. So things like we discovered like art and sciences. So Malachi's made a whole bunch of swords and has named them all unnerving things. Or Malachi made his tanks. Those are things that we describe as arts and sciences. We have, of course, have the tournament scene. We have battle games, we have all that sort of stuff, which again is in our combat side. Bardic, which is our poetry, our writing, our music, that stuff that people might be interested in doing with it. So it's kind of a compass hobby. You can be a part of Vanguard and do all sorts of different things with it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's kind of.
Yeah, I saw the hand floating up and down, floating up and down.
So I guess, well, maybe like certain modes in this game, capture the flag or whatever team-based things. Is it, so when you're doing like, I guess fights or you're getting into
Yeah.
combat or whatever, is it like a turn-based thing where it's like either like
Absolutely
one group
not.
of people go against each other and then it's like a group of others, or is it just dynamic and it keeps going?
It's pretty well dynamic. So like you'll have two teams, like unless you have very,
But like
very
if
good.
people are running for flags and they're running back and forth,
Yeah.
how do you do things like the spell thing, or you have to do casting or whatever? Or you just try and do it while they're, like fast?
Yeah.
Huge part of
I'm over here. Malachi's big and scary running at me.
Because I was wondering if you like get into like an encounter kind of thing and then you're both kind of stopped and you deal with it.
Malachi has been frozen
Okay.
by my convenient peasant.
When someone is running with like a flag, you see, and they come within the amount of range that you can use to cast something, you gotta be real fast sometimes. So that I can run through and maybe Rumour's trying to cast something on me, but I get to.
I run out of the way.
Okay.
Just get out of the way just in
I
time.
like that better.
It's all like within that first half of our lovely acronym LARP. It's live action, so the stuff happens as it happens in real life based on what we can do with our bodies and what we can do with the systems of play.
I can actually like that better.
It's really good. It's really good.
Put a bit of a description on it. All of our spells, when they're verbal based, to a degree have a range. So whether that be 20 feet or 50 feet or
Sort of
touch
like-
range.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big part of just knowing what you're fighting. That's why. Sorry. That's why we really want to see who has what stats. Because you know, I know Malachi's a healer. Sure, he has this cool ability to heal and resurrect.
Mark's a peasant. He gets one of these.
I get one of these. I know that Malachi
You
is
can
probably
see a lot.
So
You gotta fend for yourself.
yeah, I gotta fend real good. But I know Malachi more than likely has some spells that are 20 feet range.
Yeah.
So I want to stay 20 feet away from him at all costs. You might even have to reach.
So what essentially is being stated here is that our spells again all happen kind of organically as it goes within our fighting. If we have, for instance, two lines of people, our classic shield wall scenario. Shield walls in Vanguard typically end up being more of a shield wave or a shield clump on account of magic. But I can look over and see Malachi and Mark are fighting. I am a caster, or I am a ranger. I do something, and I shoot an arrow at Malachi. Malachi dies, and I'll just help this guy. I shot my invisible arrow. It's not a spell. Patent pending. Yeah. But yeah, so things happen as they happen. We have our spell balls that are coordinated to make basically you feel you got hit by a ball. You look down and go, oh, God damn it, I'm frozen again.
It's a white ball.
That's what happened to George last week.
Oh, another question.
Yes?
Based on whatever spell you're doing too, and the class, can it be like, oh, it can go like further distances, for example? or
Your
different-
spell balls go as far as
Very
your
useful
ball.
stuff.
Your verbals have distance. So, for instance, spell shove. We've gone through this one. I
So
don't
you can't just like throw it as far as you want. Is there set distances? based on
not
your-
for spell balls.
Yeah.
No?
If
If you can throw a spell ball and hit that guy in the green shirt over there, you can do it.
We're gonna plug
Incidentally,
that.
I will give you a pat on the back for hitting a random stranger with a spell ball. But probably wouldn't recommend that. But you
They're gonna
could.
be very.
You're slightly encouraging it.
A little bit, yes. I'm a horrible influencer.
The spells you select to play the given game, they will come with their ranges.
Yeah.
And you had a question.
Yeah, we saw that over here, and then we got over here.
Like, can shields block spell balls, or is there a specific skill?
So
to
it
block
depends on the spell
spells?
ball. So we got things, I think fireballs you described?
Yep.
So if we happen to have a red spell ball.
Yeah.
We'll pretend. That one's red. I'm colorblind.
Yeah.
We've all accepted that this is red. Should that spell ball be red and Mark blocked the shield, that shield would be destroyed.
Okay.
We also, for instance, that's a white spell ball now again, right?
Yeah.
Or actually no, it's a brown spell ball. That's a ball called entangle. It's what we used to describe as engulfing, which means if it hits any part of you, my belt's a dangling between my legs and it hits my belt. I'm stopped.
I have a lot of dangly clothing on. I don't know if you've noticed that. It's very a lot
He's
of
a very
stuff.
dangly
wavy person.
Exactly, very floaty. The
Yeah.
downside of that is
Mark
I
is
also have a
dangly.
lot of stuff going on. So
Yeah. there's a good option right there. I throw this. Yeah. It hits Malachi's cloak. Malachi's frozen.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's
That's a cheap piece of clothing.
Yeah. So if a spell is described as engulfing, all of the spells have a little write-up on them, and they have their accepted terminology. So it's things like engulfing, wounds, kill, wounding, stop, frozen, all these things.
Paralysis, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They're just kind of active effects.
Okay.
But they all have their terminology and things that they do. So they'll all have a little write-up. So it's kind of, the answer is very long and short, depends. Or the longer answer is depends.
We talked about how George over here is a barbarian.
Yeah.
They have some immunities to magic. One of those is the type of spell ball that Veronica, you over there. So let's say I'm a barbarian, you sort of have a shield. I still get your card.
Yeah.
I don't have to.
Yeah. So again, the answer depends.
Okay.
Link?
Yes. So with enchantments
Yeah.
and such, could you enchant an arrow with, like, say, the
Um,
spell ball and have a longer range?
Yes and no. But in kind of a roundabout way. So the answer is no, but also yes.
Okay.
I can answer that. So we have our class Archer. Currently, the only arrows we have here are blue. Yeah, that doesn't work. For instance, what Malachi has here, yeah, it's a red arrow.
Yeah, now it's a red arrow.
You can see what Malachi has on here, or what Heaven has tied around her belt. Those are all mine. Those are enchantment strips. Those are basically used to denote magic affecting a piece of gear. We have kind of miscellaneous. Yes. Jared's head is very enchanted.
Buff for days.
Yeah, buff for days.
The strongest.
Yeah, so imagine we hit in the gym. But we have the class Archer. An Archer essentially gets a very similar role to like a spellball wizard. So someone with a lot of spell balls can throw a lot of things. Archers get a whole bunch of different types of specialty arrows. So they have their standard arrows, which are just like anything sharp. You poke someone and they get a little hole. That little hole leaks out a bunch of things and they hit. Archers get to basically amend a spell ball to their arrow. So you could have,
Let's say a lightning arrow.
Destruction arrow. Destruction arrow. Destruction arrows are red. I know that one.
Yeah.
Destruction arrows operate very similar to what we just said for a fireball. So that would destroy the shield should it hit. So again, the answer is kind of like no, but also yes. You can do similar things, but it's taken up by an entire class to itself. Yeah.
Kind of makes them a little bit more special.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the fun things about Archer, as a class as a whole, is that you basically get kind of the equivalent of playing a spellball wizard. But I'm very unlikely to be able to hit a guy in that corner with a spellball with my hand. I am far more likely to be able to shoot that guy with a destruction arrow.
Kind of like you were talking about range earlier with spell balls.
Yeah.
You know, you might not be able to hit that with a actual spell ball, but an archer will probably be able to clear, 50 to 100 feet potentially.
I would go before 100 with these arrows.
Yeah.
But they're going to be able to hit a lot further away.
Is there a limit for life cleaning?
It's all relevant.
It's all relative to it's all relative to what class.
And then there's like points to buy stuff, right?
For martial classes there are not. So Archer's a martial class. So there's no point buy. The casters, so like kind of generically we have kind of our fighting classes and our spellcasting classes. The spellcasting classes are called
Summon with any wizard user or whatever.
Yeah. It all kind of depends on what it says on that page. Yeah.
As an example, archers.
Manual before you play this.
Yeah.
Archers basically get like 3 arrows they can pick from each level, and they can choose one of those per level.
Unless you have different other abilities that stack onto that. But again, it's just kind of a matter of reading the class you want to play or the ability that you're trying to use and working around what it says. Do you have any other questions, or should I pick 2 of these? Yeah.
So, can you do combo attacks? So, like, say, Buddy here's playing a wizard who can do spell balls.
Yep.
I play a
Well, for starters, he's probably better off playing a fighter class because he's already wearing armor.
Okay, so I'm the wizard. So I toss a spell ball.
Yep.
He hits it with his sword because he wants and just sends it. Is that allowed?
So that specific situation wouldn't work because the monk's ability, spellball block, inactivates the spellball if it hits. But like there are ways to do stuff like that. For instance, I've seen people bounce arrows off other guys' shields. That's a fun one, or bounce throwies off other people's shields. So there are ways to do similar things like that, just not that specific situation. Yeah.
But you can do other combos. You know, so we have looked at playing like a wizard with, you know, someone that plays a druid. They have ability to stop somebody from moving. And in the wizard kit, they have a really cool ability called Drag Below. When somebody is stopped, they can do the incants for Drag Below and it kills them.
So that leads into an idea of what are called, like, in that one specifically, kill combos and spells. So I might be using 2 or 3 spells to kill someone, but it means that I simply do not have to engage them with stick. And quite often that is a really good thing. I'm a decent stick guy, but sometimes I just do not want to fight any of these crazy people. Having to hit me from very far away.
It's very lanky.
I'm pretty lanky. That's next level crap. They should be strictly disallowed. Yeah.
Yeah, there you
Do
go.
we have anything else?
Spell balls are there, and what are they?
We're testing my game knowledge. We have white spell balls, brown spell balls, green.
Yeah, bands.
Yep. Green is bands. Yes, I can do that. We have red, yellow, gray, blue, black.
Yeah. There you go.
Hey, I know things.
We have 8 different spell balls, all with their own unique effects.
I know what colors they are. I don't know what most of them are.
He's not normally a person that plays.
Yeah, again, like I mentioned, like I run a sword fighting school. I'm a kickboxer. I've been doing fighting stuff for a very long time. I'm just getting into kind of the magic thing, which has been fun, especially because like we sit around and just absolutely try to jank the rule book, often to the dismay of singular players like George over here, who I froze countless times last week.
Of course, well, he barely got to play.
It was
Yeah.
cool.
It's almost worse than death.
Yeah. Do we have anything else? Incidentally, hands can go up at any point in time while these people are smacking each other. It just means that I will likely have to talk louder to talk over shields.
I think
Yeah.
maybe have them fight over in this corner here.
Yeah, that's a good corner. Yeah, that's a good corner. That offers more space to swing the stick.
Exactly.
Malachi, do you want any other objects?
I'm just gonna move the camera.
What door do you want? Door? Door?
It does work.
I'm going to go ahead and say that based on the point on top, that's why I'm going to disallow it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the reason.
There's a point on top too.
Yeah, no, it's one on top. That's what I'm going with. Yeah. So we're going to have some fighting.
Now, the cool thing about having a long weapon is you have a pretty solid advantage towards people using shorter weapons.
Reach in. Just so you know, this is not what most fighting looks like. Malachi's nuts. I trained him that way.
No, that's 2 wounds, Malachi.
Huh, totally. Here, I'm gonna reel up the person here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, what are you doing?
George, do you want to try giving him a fight?
Do it, Daddy. What are you doing?
Sure. Show off some shield work. Oh my.
Fight.
As you can tell, our
Back.
Are there any circumstances where it would hurt releasing a snipe ball?
Oh yeah. You can get schwacked pretty good.
Or you notice it, but it's not really pain.
Well, yeah, like depending on how hard you fight, how hard people hit, marks of being ooh.
I was gonna say, if you're going against like a boss man.
There's a point in time where you want to control people, right? If I see somebody that I know I'm fighting that isn't necessarily accustomed to fighting, I'm not going to go full on.
So, what we have over here is I've gone through some A-level bullshit and enacted some magic on Malachi's weapon. I have marked it with a spell strip. I have given it the enchantment of poison, which means that we talked about our wounding situation for our fighting. Poison means wounds kill, which means that any hit that George now takes means he's dead. Sorry, George.
This enchantment applies to most weapons that he's holding.
Yeah. Yes.
Now,
Was that dead? It's not affected on throw.
It was in the nethers.
The nethers are torso, a legal shot. Wear a cuff.
it is an important thing. But,
Headshots don't count.
Do happen.
Yeah.
But, you know, they are not something that's aimed for, and they're generally an accident.
They should be an accident. If they are not an accident, there are problems.
Need to go check some.
Yeah, I might.
Oh, there it is.
Yep.
I'm gonna enact my show.
They're actually on the break. They're kind of turning up a little. When we have more than one fighter, when it's like we have people leading into a pit and calling it a pit. The person who survives, darn it! And the loser leaves. I might get over there for a fight. Or even better, is there anybody from the audience who'd like to see fighting?
Like to see it?
Yeah. From the group of us, is there anybody who'd like to see fight? Yeah. If you guys want to see any fighters jump up, please.
You get it there.
Okay. We'll jump in.
Fight at the same time.
Four people, one. Still. I'm still. You're gonna enchant me.
What?
What are you enchanting me?
Talk to me like people side of you, talk to me like people side of you, talk to me like people side of you, talk to me like
What was it? I didn't hear it.
like after.
Oh, I'm getting like. So, as an example, I've now been enchanted to kind of skew the battle a little bit. I now have like entropy. So, a cool enchantment that gives me 2 points of armor and shield crusher.
I now have blessing against wounds. I can ignore 1 wound.
So, this is something that would come up normally in a battle game, not in a 1v1,
But it's funnier this way.
Hey, other fighter! I have blessing against wounds. Before I engage you, I need to let you know I have enchanted. I have blessing against wounds.
I've got like
I don't care.
So like that, check out his first point that he was given was an enchantment. Then my next 2 shots, potentially even the first one.
Oh yeah.
Anybody else want to fight over there? Or the crew over there want to see anybody fight?
I want to see Jed. Step up there.
Oh, me.
Yeah, I love your hat.
It's a good hat, it's a good hat. This is my fighty hat.
Okay.
It's quite
I
fighting.
didn't know if you were fighting or plotting.
A little bitey.
Either way.
So I can't see these. So the cool thing is there, with the champions up, I was able to see the punch my person. And just keep on fighting.
I was a kid.
So they can be very powerful.
How many hits do you need to win?
2 to limbs, or 1 to chest.
So like, does that have to be the same one?
No. So if I get hit in an
Just
arm
in
and a
general.
leg,
Okay, just
yeah, 2 limbs. For instance, here I hit Mark a couple of times. Mark in this case, however, has some magic armor. That's another buff. That's another buff I can give. I'm about to get more people other things so that they can play with Mark.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Armor. I am a monk. I don't count armor.
That's too bad.
Too bad.
You get 2s of them, and you got shield right here.
I know.
Yeah.
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 It's neutral. It's like
This is gonna be a difficult test. So I'm a monk. I don't do shield very often, so it'll be very interesting. Yeah. I also almost spell can person. Hello, look at that field. 2 points. How's your cover?
Okay. Also, 2 again. Yeah.
So the division just basically works out.
Also counts as 1 basically because 2 because it's hard to get. So you see me. No,
My arm was gone. Or did you hit my arm one after that?
Yeah.
So it's gone.
So I lost it, so I just switched. And I can keep, I'm still able to continue fighting. Good fight.
You wanna do a throwing battle?
I was gonna get you guys 2 on 2.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Oh no, you gotta throw it.
I just have one. I just have one. Just one.
Also, for clarification, generally when somebody dies, when they have an enchantment, they lose it. Because basically, when they respawn, so keeps a little bit of balance.
Cool.
How are we doing this?
I guess it's everyone on Hefe.
All right versus me.
I'm not worried right today. Yeah, I got a little bit poking out.
Yeah. So again, as we talked about, we have team-based battles, battle gaming, quite often. We got a couple of enchantments on the field, so we aren't going to see quick deaths as we saw before. Yeah.
Okay.
On your count, whoever wants it.
My cancer be. I have one arm on my leg and my one arm. You got also shield crushing. So touch swords to lay on. Lay on.
Have you heard? No, not at all.
Wait, actually, no. There's 4 souls now stuck in a corner, literally.
Can you mend that for me?
Come at me.
This is somebody who uses a spellcaster.
I make this like hold again times 5.
You leg them and you just keep shoving them.
Or Swift.
They can't do anything.
Here's this. Swift, I mean, I'm holding it. Thank you. He mended my shield. He's it again.
Yeah. Oh, my God!
Oh, the enchantment!
My skill casting.
Oh no! Fight under death! The classic barbarian ability.
The clutch play!
7 seconds after he dies, he's allowed to run and he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
That's a cool example of things barbarians.
Yeah. Almost all classes have what we kind of describe as a pinnacle ability. This is the thing that is unique to their class. Some classes are better written than others and have better abilities for their pinnacle. For instance, the Barbarian has what's called Fight After Death, which is phenomenally thematic. It's great. Essentially, what it means is when a Barbarian dies, they get to fight. They get to fight on for 7 more seconds. They call Fight After Death, and they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. During that time, any weapons that they wield are shield crushing.
And armor breaking.
Yeah.
That's natural.
Yeah. Barbarians are also naturally armor breaking, which is great.
Something about that little encounter there too. Barbarians have a really cool ability that is when they're fighting, and let's say they're wounded, like George was on the ground, then he kills somebody. He can say adrenaline. And it heals him a wound.
Yeah.
So
these
that's how you
are
got
all
back up
things
and
that
start
thematically affect the class, which is why we have classes at all, is to make things cool. And again, because we all always wanted to play our D&D games there, we wanted to see what they look like. Yeah.
We all died.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody died.
Everyone died. No one won.
died. No
Do we
one
need to
lived.
see them do it again?
Yes.
I thought so. I thought so. Hey, George.
I might be playing as the peasants for this one.
Oh, nice.
Do you want me to play as a healer or something like that? Okay.
We don't throw towards the TV.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, maybe not that direct.
Let's go on this side.
Both sides. That's a classic sports mechanic. That's now what I'm going to call rules in soccer sports mechanics. It's like how racing games have catch-up mechanics, which for the longest time I thought was simply the guy that put toppings on your hot dog.
I might switch sides and play as a healer to kind of mirror what's going on here.
Blessing against wounds.
Yeah, there we go. Sweet.
It's on a roll with throwing stuff.
Okay, so as you can tell, they're kind of chanting themselves before the battle, so we'll do the same.
I'm just saying, just for the point of
flow through me. Let the white light of healing flow through me. Let the white light of healing flow through me. Let the white light of healing flow through me. Let the white light of healing flow through me.
I'm just gonna call for the point as at this point the game master, or Reeve in this case, that all enchantments are refreshed simply because I don't want to have to go out and say them again. I don't remember what I gave everyone.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Is there an assassin's ash over there?
Yes.
Ooh.
Where'd it go? It's over here. Hashishian. Yeah.
Give me weird attacking stuff. Do you want to do this sword?
I can use a shield now. I can no longer use a shield until I put the sash on.
Yep. That is the mighty struggle of being an assassin, is you cannot use a shield as good as they are.
You want it?
You know what? Let's give her a shot.
Sure.
Let's give her a shot. Come on, skinny. I can still fit in there like my old grad dress.
It's beautiful. Only look a little stiff.
I only look stiff. Oh, all right.
Brother's walking like Edward Scissorhands.
Game Master, do you want to tell us when we should lay on?
What's up? What's up? Oh, I actually relaxed my arms. I can't bend anymore on this.
Team's ready.
Section, heaven, my partiality, my partiality, my partiality. My partiality, my partiality, my partiality.
Nothing's happened yet.
I thought it said start.
No, I said team
That's
is ready.
horrible.
That
It's
was a
like the
question.
I'm that guy that starts the race when they say two.
This is why Mark loses races.
It's a fact.
Yeah. Lay on.
Oh, nice man!
My partiality, my partiality, my partiality.
Close weapon does weapon, close weapon does weapon. Poison is close weapon does poison.
Captain, the power of the
One's
light,
killed.
the power of the light, the power of the light, Captain. Captain, my partiality, my partiality, my partiality. Captain, my partiality, my partiality, my partiality. I grant the heal.
One off.
Malachi, my partiality,
No,
my partiality,
one's killed.
my partiality. Extension. Oh. Swift, tower resurrection.
Let's run.
Captain, the power of the light, the power of the light, the power of the light,
Son.
Malachi, my partiality, my partiality, my partiality.
Adrenaline?
I am stuck.
Dead, asshole.
Oh, okay. It's time. Sorry, no, guys.
I'm sorry, life got in the way. Stunning moment for us all.
Truly sorry. I'm so sorry. So,
Yeah, a little for
a lot of shenanigans.
My little toit.
No, I'm just moving for it now. Well, thank you for your assistance here.
He might be a
We're
little.
not giving this up.
The first make us live, so I can do this?
Yeah. Anyway, everyone, you need to know, we meet every Saturday at 12 o'clock down at Riverside Park in the field next to the Sandman Center.
Yeah, we actually definitely went past our time, so thank you everybody for joining me.
Oh, yeah. It works.
Thank you.
Right, get out of here.
Do you want a hand? Come here.
Yeah, get it.
Yeah, that's right. Accept your fate. Well, thank you everybody for coming. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening and all the other shenanigans.
Questions, feel free to come up to any of us. I will give you funny answers. These guys will give you right answers.
Maybe left answers, we'll see. We do still have our booth open till 6 o'clock tonight. So we'll be there. All the questions and all the answers.
All the questions, some of the answers.
Probably, if we're lucky. We'll see.
Some answers into stories. Yes.
It's Session Street too, so you're sort of one.
Nice and easy. I should also probably pause the video.
Well, I accidentally